Zamir Syed. I've been going to talk about digital transformation in continuation with our last discussions. We would be covering metrics, the digital culture, what needs to be defined within the organization, and the technology that's going to impact or have an influence on the digital transformation. Right? It's going to be quite inextensive, and it's going to be in continuation with our digital transformation discussions that's been going on. Right? So far we had a discussion on defining digital strategy in alignment with the business strategy and the business model. What we can do is, just in continuation with that, let's go ahead with how we can achieve the digital strategy that has been defined in alignment with the business strategy, right? So in our earlier discussions, we had mentioned digital strategy is going to make the difference. It's not just the technology which is going to have an impact on the digital transformation, because your how the digital strategy that you define is going to make or break your transformation journey in the digitization, right? So what we can do is we can continue with how we can go about on this next phases of transformation. So we'll talk about the metrics, how we need to define, because see, when you have defined a digitization strategy, right, what you need to do is you have to define the metrics to measure how your transformation is going on, how your transformation is progressing to where you want to go. Because when you have a clear vision, when you have a coherent and clear vision to achieve your transformation, you need to have the metrics also to measure your progress. Unless you are able to measure the progress, you won't be able to make a transformation a very smooth journey to achieve where you want to go, right? While doing this, what you need to keep in mind is, when you try to define the KPIs, there are two kinds of KPIs that you need to define for your digital transformation. You might be having your business KPIs, you might be having your technology KPIs, you might be having customer facing KPIs, whatever the KPIs that you define. All this has to have a kind of a synergy with your KPIs for the digital transformation, right? So when you do this, when you go about defining the digital business KPIs, you need to have two different KPIs or two sets of KPIs that you need to define. One that describes the optimization of the current business processes or current business model, right? How best you are going to achieve out of your current business model or the business processes. And the other is, and the second one is that measures your transformative growth, which means like post your transformation initiatives, how is your growth is going to be influencing your business, right? You need to have two different metrics. As I said, there are two kinds of metrics that you need to define for your digital business model. One is the transformative, the metrics that measures the optimization of your current business model or current business processes, and the other one is which measures the transformative growth after you implement your digitization initiatives, right? These KPIs for the digital strategy, it has to align with your business KPIs. As I mentioned, you might be having your business KPIs, you might be having your technology KPIs, you might be having any operational KPIs, which will be linked to your operational performance, your sales targets, your customer services or customer journey or customer experiences, and the growth both in the number of financials and in the number of customer base. All these things that will have separate set of KPIs, but whatever the KPIs that you define for your digital transformation, that has to align with your other business KPIs that you have already defined. Unless it has an alignment with your business KPIs, you will not be able to achieve your transformation. and the second is you will not be able to measure your business success, right? And so the most important point is both these set of KPIs, the digital KPIs and as well as the business KPIs, should not be confused with, right? When you say there are operational KPIs that you have, it is going to be in it is going to be in sync with your digital KPIs of the part 1, which is optimization of your current business model. When you define the business side set of operational KPIs, it is going to do for as is basis. It will be measured on the processes that are running on a current set of processes, current business model. And when you define the digital KPIs for those same kind of optimization of your processes or business models, that has to measure how best your business process is changing or changing according to your digital initiatives, right? So one is as is basis and the other one is the to be basis. So this is the kind of optimization, the kind of KPIs that you need to define for your optimization of business model, right? The next one is the transformative growth, the KPIs that need to be defined for the transformative growth, which you can measure your post digital initiatives. In a sense, you will have to identify what is the kind of operations that has been optimized. I can give you an example, the business case, that number of transactions that has been increased, or the time taken for completing the set of transactions, or time taken for a particular transaction executed by this customer, or even the TAT that you would have achieved based on the transformation initiatives. So that gives your transformative growth KPIs, right? So that when you measure, it has to have a kind of positive impact on your entire business model, so that that means it gives you a clear understanding that your digital transformation journey is on the right path. And then from there you can build up any other initiatives that you want to link up with the current initiatives. It's up to the business strategy. And if you want to launch new products based on new channels or new business operations or new geographical expansion, it's all up to the business objectives that is going to be defined as part of your business plan, right? So when this business plan has been defined, you can always enable with that digital transformation for all your business plans, and obviously it's going to be it'll take off from there as you move ahead with your initiatives. And on the other side is when you define the metrics, it has to track your ROI, it has to track your the reward that you can provide to either at an operational aspects for internal customers, or for expanding the business for your external customers who are getting onto your business journey, right? And when you try to reward the KPIs, when you try to define the KPIs, as I said, it has to track the return of investments, because whatever that investments that you incur, or whatever that investments that you plan for your transformation, that has to generate a kind of positive growth or positive influence on your businesses. It has to have very significant influence. It should not give a marginal influence. Probably then it will become run of the mill, or also on the run, also on the transformation kind of an approach for the business, which it's not going to make any difference for the business, neither for the customers who do business with you, right? So in a sense, what it has to do is, when you track your ROI and as well as the reward progress or reward process for your customers, then your KPIs, then your metrics will give you kind of the measures or the metrics will give you a kind of clarity for your transformation journey. So the business model or the organizational model has to be in such a way that it caters to customer demands quite very quickly, and as well as whatever the changes that they do, it has to increase the efficiency. Just for the sake of making quick responses or quick reward to the customer, you cannot play around with your processes. You cannot make it as a lengthy process, or you cannot make it as suboptimal solutions, right? It's a two-way sword. It's like you have to respond faster, and as well as it has to be very efficient. You cannot compromise on the efficiency. You cannot compromise on your processes. You cannot compromise on your compliance and the risk requirements that your business demands. But at the same time, you are supposed to respond faster and quick to your customers, right? So a kind of culture that needs to be developed. People should not work in a way in a laid back attitude, or in a way they're in a traditional environment where they say the turnaround time is going to take about 2 to 3 days after receiving the call or receiving the complaint. That's not going to work out, because the customer is trying to reach the business or trying to reach the bank in no time through all the channels that is available to him or her. At the same time, the bank has to revert back to them in the same speed. That is where the customer will have he will feel that he has been given an importance by the bank or by the business, saying that whatever that complaints that he has raised or the issues and concerns that he or she has raised have been addressed to his requirements or addressed in his interest, right? If you don't make the customer feel that he is being wanted, you can never be able to succeed you can never be able to regain his trust again. Because once you set the trend saying that your reward is going to be responded back only after 2 days, because that is what you have confirmed to them, it's not going to work out that way. You may say on or before so and so time, or on or before so and so day, whatever that internally you might have defined the processes. That is, in a traditional banking setup, it would be very, very efficient. It would work well. But when it comes to digital world, when it comes to the digital mindset of the customer, that's not going to work. That it has to be imbibed within the organization at all levels, at all the business functions which are involved, because at the back end every business function has to talk integratively with every other business function to respond to the customer. For the customer, it is only a bank. Customer would not realize he is talking to operational people, is talking to compliance people, nothing. He will realize that he is talking to the bank. At the bank, internally, whatever you have to do, it has to be done. One is very seamless way, in a very integrated way, and in a very, very faster way, right? So unless you achieve this, you will not be able to come back at the front end to come and respond to your customers' demands. To do this, you have to completely change your organizational culture, the people mindset, who are the employees who are working at different functions. You have to tell them, you have to instruct them, you have to advise them, or if required, you have to train them to get out of the traditional work style to work at a digital way, right? So which means they have to work faster, they have to work very efficient, and they have to have very, very responsive attitude towards the customers, right? They cannot shy away the responsibilities. They cannot pass on the responsibilities to some other function, saying that that's not going to be their duty, because it's going to be an integrated world. In an integrated world, it needs to be worked in a collaborative way that has to be derived, right? So what you need to do is you have to develop a different organizational culture. The organizational culture should have a collaborative way of functioning amongst all the business functions involved, whether it is going to be a support function, whether it is going to be a mainstream function, whether it is going to be a customer facing function, whether it is going to be a regulatory facing function. Everything has to work in a very, very collaborative way. And on the other side, what will happen is your team, the human capital should work in agile ways, in a sense that they have to get out of your traditional work mindset to an entrepreneurial mindset. When we say entrepreneurial mindset, which means they have to work and take entire responsibility on them, and they have to get the data wherever, from whichever function, whichever system, whichever application they need to get the data to complete their set of tasks. There is no two ways about it saying that the data has not reached to them or they don't have an integration, because unless you enable all these things, obviously your cultural setup or the organizational culture will not be very, very efficient, will not be able to change the way they work. And while doing this, there has to be a kind of from every level of the senior management has to get involved with every level of employees. They have to instill a confidence amongst their team, saying that whatever the digital transformation that is going to happen or that has been planned or that has been initiated is not going to affect their way of work or their way of I would say a kind of work life, because sometimes insecurity gets built in and people would feel that if some automation is going to be come into place and their requirement will become redundant and they might either be shunted off or be shifted to some other work which they are not capable of doing or they don't want to do. So a kind of a regular interaction with the employees, with the human capital or human resources, with the team has to go on a continuous basis, and you have to train them or develop their skills to come up to the level which the business is expecting from those employees to to deliver the results what is required for the transformation aspects, right? So while doing this, whenever you go ahead with a new initiative or even some new start as part of your transformation journey, obviously it's not going to be because when you venture into a no man's land, you may not be knowing what would be the results. So it is better you can do a test and learn approach. You can have a kind of quick win solutions to what the quick win solutions. One way it will provide you kind of instill confidence that the journey is in the right path, and they'll say when you see the benefits, obviously the morale will go up and it will boost their confidence and their comfort to move ahead on taking bigger responsibilities and bigger initiatives, right? So you have to do a kind of POC kind of an approach, proof of concept. You take a business case or you take one small initiative, you create a lighthouse projects, or you create some small concept to test it out. All that you can do as a part of your test and learn approach. When you do that, people would be able to understand what are the failures or what are the difficulties that they are encountering or what are the alternatives that they can work on to actually succeed on those transformation initiatives, right? So that is very, very important when it comes to transformation, digital transformation, or for that matter any transformation. So once you define the strategy, once you define the metrics, how it needs to be measured, and once you bring up the people to go onto your transformation path, right, the next most important thing is the technology aspect, right? The most important aspect here we need to understand on technology is whenever you want to get into a new technology, we need to understand in-depth way of that technology and understand the positives and negatives of that technology in context of the business. right? So you it's tremendous development is going on, and the technology is evolving quite rapidly, either with the new developments within the technology fields, or from the business side the demand comes up and the technology develops. I mean, technology gets developed because of the business demands coming up, or sometimes the new way of the new research and development and inventions and innovations keep coming up into this digitization side, right? So to go into that level, you have to understand, or you need to have a very deep understanding of the technology. That is given. You cannot compromise on saying that okay, everyone is talking about certain technology, let's also go into that technology. Unless you understand the technology, you will not be able to deploy that technology, or you will not be able to exploit that technology for your digital transformation. That the basic requirement, or the basic thing that you need to understand, right? So what we can do here is, when you go ahead with any technology implementation, right, you have to understand the technology itself deeper than how you previously would have understood for your traditional IT projects. If you see right from the involvement of technology within the banks, it all started with PC based environment, application running CLO functions, individually certain functions which is getting deployed, which could be like on the support functions, on the mainstream functions. Then it became core banking operations. Then it became social media channels or omni-channel presence. Then it became net banking. All this evolution has taken place, and you have witnessed right from the paper-based banking operations to net-based banking operations, or for that matter smart device-based banking operations, right? So you have to understand that in a digital world, in a digital transformation journey, understanding of technology has to be completely different from your traditional understanding of the technology for your traditional business initiatives which you would have done till date, right? It's not to scare, or it's not to create a kind of skepticism or an apprehension over the technology. It's only that to exploit the technology to the maximum for the business benefits. That is the main objective, to understand in depth of any technology that you would choose to deploy or you choose to implement for your businesses, right? When we say technology, it could be your business solutions, it could be a hardware infrastructure, it could be network connectivity, it could be customer touch points, anything, you name it, anything that is related to technology, that is to do with technology, entire aspect that it requires a very deep understanding. Earlier you might have implemented client server architecture. You might have understood just the databases, and you would have said like, this is what is the front end is going to be look like, or this is how the front end screen field capture or fields will be defined, this is how the data will be captured. All that would have been done in a very, very traditional way, because there could be some limitations. There could be limitations within the technology, there could be limitations within the integration between the business and technology, there could be limitations from the resources availability or the skill sets availability, right? But then to deploy your digital transformation, this is a different ball game altogether. You have to understand the technology in depth in the context of the business. You have to first chart out the customer journey. You have to chart out your entire business processes, and you plug in the technology in that place, right? If you do that, if the technology can match up to all these requirements, obviously it's like you would have a cakewalk, right? That is number one. And number two is, you have to, as I said, it's in the context. You have to understand the business processes, you have to understand the customer journey, map everything together, and identify the technology to fit where it needs to, right? how the technology would fit inside the organization, right? And you also have to understand how that technology would change the way people work, because unless it doesn't help them to change the way people work, unless it helps your own employees, the technology will be of no use, right? So you have to understand how the technology would fit inside the business, inside the organization, and how it is ultimately going to change the way people work. The way people work here in both the ways, internal customers and as well as external customers. The final thing here is getting more details within the technology. What we need to understand is you have to invest time to ensure that your employees are able to work within the new digital technology. So you have to ensure, you have to train those people within your own team, because you cannot expect your team to understand automatically whatever the new technology that you would want to deploy or you would want to bring onto your business. You have to train them, and you have to ensure that people are able to work with the new technology. As I said, if they don't want to work, or if they cannot work, if they are not able to, if they could not find ways to work with new digital technology, they will not be able to exploit technology for the business benefits. So obviously, it'll be a kind of a letdown for your own employees, which obviously you would not want to do. Obviously the management would not want to do. So you have to invest time in training people. You have to invest time in equipping or skilling your people to how to use the technology, or how to use, or how they would be able to work with the new digital technology. So far we have seen the soft aspects of the technology, where how to deploy technology for your business benefits, for your digital transformation journey, right? Now coming to the mainstream technology, the main topics of what technology that needs to be done, how it needs to be implemented, how it needs to be deployed. The first thing you have to concentrate is your technology architecture, or otherwise in a very, very common way, what we can say is enterprise architecture, right? When you try to develop a technology architecture, find out the target operating model, what you want to achieve, right? Keep that in your mind. You have to work in a reverse way. What is it that you want to see at the end of this journey, or at the end of the project, right? Just walk back from there. To achieve that, what are the resources that you would require, right? How all those resources need to be defined, how those resources need to be designed, how the processes need to be defined, how it needs to be designed by keeping in mind technology, right? Processes as part of the business operations, they will have certain set of processes to complete before a transaction to complete, right? How this technology should be able to assist those processes to become very efficient and fast, right? And your enterprise architecture has to look at all the aspects of the business units, right from all levels, right from your customer touch points to your operational touch points within your organization, with your associates touch points, from your external customers or external associates, or I would say wide area network, where you are getting information or data or whatever that requirements from your third party requirements getting integrated within your businesses. Entire ecosystem of the bank need to be defined within your enterprise architecture, right? You have to develop a technology architecture and target operating model to support the business model and your incremental changes, because there are going to be quite a few changes that would be incorporated on your business model. Your technology architecture needs to incorporate, right? those changes have to be incorporated within your technology architecture without disturbing your existing operational architecture, existing technology architecture, existing operational processes, right? So first you have to develop this technology architecture. Keep in mind the technology part of it is very, very critical to get into this transformation. As I said, it could be complex, but it could be also simple. When you understand this, how to, fit this technology architecture onto the business model, right? Now what you need to do is, once you define that architecture covering all the processes of the banking operations or the business operations of all the business units, it could be individual or independent business unit, but the data could be shared between the business functions and the business units. So you don't need to duplicate the same kind of data capture at all the business units. If you capture once, it could be well and fine, well and good. You can use it for other business units, and it has to be in a way that there is number one is there's no duplication of the data. Number two is there is no unstructured data that has been captured. And number three is you are not managing data away from your compliance requirements, right? Which means within the framework of your compliance requirements, you should be able to manage your data. You should be able to capture the data, right? So your architecture need to be designed in such a way that it has to meet all these business requirements, which means your customers' requirements. You should be able to capture the customer data in a way customer feels comfortable to share the data with the bank, right? One. Number two is you should be able to capture the data within your business model framework, because you may not be wanting to capture the data for the businesses which is not going to be using that data, or for that matter that's not the data which is not going to be used by the bank for any which way. And number three is that data has to be captured within the compliance framework, because as I said, when you try to capture the data under KYC, you have to capture all the mandated requirement based on the KYC requirements. The compliance that has been mandated that some X amount of data need to be captured under KYC, it has to capture. There is no compromise on that. There's no two ways about it. You cannot say you could capture only half the data, or you would like to capture more the data if you want to utilize for your businesses. That's a different thing. Less the data, you are not meeting your compliance requirements, right? So you have to balance yourself, which means your technology need to be designed in such a way, that architecture need to be designed in such a way that it balances all the business aspects, all the business components, all the business conditions, I would say the business environmental conditions. Once you define that architecture, right? So what you need to do is you need to understand how to capture the data. It could look a basic or a very, very primitive comment saying that how to capture the data. Everyone knows how to capture the data, but what data needs to be captured and how to be captured. Most of the businesses, they overlook this aspect. That's the main reason they don't capture the right data, or they don't capture the data right. There is a difference, right? Please try and understand. There is a difference in capturing the right data and capturing the data in a right way, right? So you might be asking your customer to input telephone numbers. Say for example, they might put on only about, instead of 10 digits, they might input just about 8 digits. So there has to be a kind of a validation check whether the data is in the right format, right? To go beyond that, they might even enter 10 digits, but then they would say like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 0. It's of no use. What are you going to do with the data? It's just the dummy data. You will not be able to reach to that customer. So a kind of intelligence or the validation check need to be built in over there, whether the data that is being captured is right, or are you capturing the data in the right way? Because sometimes the numeric need to be captured in a character way, if you talk about in a pure technical sense, right? So it has to be defined in a way that data needs to be captured in a right way, and the right data need to be captured. To understand whether the data has been captured right way or the right data has been captured, business has to validate it. So the involvement from the business is there at every stage of technology deployment. Unless the business understands the data has been captured in a way business expects, it has been captured right, and the right data has been captured, the technology is waste. Business will say like, this technology is not going to benefit them at all, right? So this is, again, you have to identify how part of your technology needs to be implemented, how it needs to be implemented, how it needs to be captured, how it needs to capture the data. The technology should be able to differentiate. You need to design the technology in such a way that, which could be deployed in a way quite easily all these aspects can be captured. So define that architecture, plug and play with your systems, with your existing systems, which means like all underperforming systems need to be re-engineered, or you place the existing systems in a way it becomes very efficient. It just need to be like re-looked at, redesigned in a way. The amount of redesigning might differ. It could be minimal, it could be maximum, it could be like, you can do away with the system. You don't need to re-look at the system because it has served its life, it has reached end of life cycle. All that can be possible. All that you need to evaluate, and you need to identify your existing technology setup, existing systems, existing business solutions, while finalizing your technology architecture for your entire banking operations when you are as part of your digital transformation, right? Either you can re-engineer your underperforming applications, you are re-architect those applications, you can reuse it, but again, you have to identify what is the kind of the end of life cycle for those business solutions. Is it going to be longer? Is it going to be shorter? Whether the effort that you need to put in for re-engineering or re-architecting that application, whether it's going to serve any purpose on a long-term basis, all that needs to be evaluated. So once you do all those things, right, so you would be finalizing your technology architecture. Now, after finalizing that technology architecture, you go and identify all your business units. What are the business units which are there within the bank? What are the technology and the business solutions that supports those business units? Create a kind of a blueprint. Create a footprint of technology at every level, at every business function, at every step of the business processes, right? And if you identify what are the points that are lacking, what are the integrations that is lacking, and which are the applications that need to be re-looked at, and what are the technology infrastructure if it needs to be reworked, whether it can be optimized, whether it can be consolidated, whether it need to be expanded, whether it need to be whether the entire set has reached end of life cycle, you want to look at another the new technology. All that will come into the picture. Once you create the technology architecture, identify the business units, create an IT blueprint, create the technology blueprint, identify the footprint of technology and the business solutions across the business functions, and see to it that entire business operations are equipped with the necessary systems and technologies to the fullest level, right? So which means you have to identify that end-to-end business processes have been equipped with right automation and integration amongst the different business units, right? So your architecture has to create a kind of footprint, I would say a kind of an octopus way of integrating with each and every business unit, so that your data where you capture at one business function can be utilized by multiple other business entities, business functions or business processes. So in a similar way, every business function will have the visibility to every other business function in a very transparent way, which means the integration of your business functions, business technology is quite smooth. It could be easy to say, it could be complex to deploy, but if you have the right architectural design, it's very easy to achieve this. So what you need to do is you have to develop individual business solutions, and still it needs to be integrated with every other business functions, every other business entity, right? So here what you can do is you have to identify once in defining that IT blueprint and the footprint of technology across the business functions, you would have by now to identify which are the systems, which are the business functions need to be independently deployed, which needs to be integrated, where are the dependability of other business functions and business solutions, other business solutions comes into play. Everything is there and you have the right roadmap to achieve your transformation, right? So that is where you have to concentrate on what are the things that need to be done, right? Now actually coming on to finding the technology setup, right? What is the technology that you need to deploy? There are a lot of technologies that are available. People are talking about analytics, talking about business intelligence, talking about artificial intelligence, talking about data warehousing, and talking about machine learning. Everything is there. You can go ahead and deploy all those things for your business. It will have a business impact, or it will have an impact onto the business in a positive way. Everything is fine, right? But then, as I was emphasizing on your technology strategy and technology architecture, right? Your identification of this technology components should match to your architecture. The technology will become available to everyone in the world in every corner. A Windows operating system or an Oracle database, what is available in US in Silicon Valley is the same thing which is available in Timbuktu here in India. So you cannot say that Oracle version is completely different from the Oracle version which is available here in India. It's not that. It's the same way, but the way Amazon uses its data for its business is completely different from the way some small time e-commerce entity which is using in a remote place. The technology remains the same, but the way you use the technology makes the difference. So that's why we emphasize on the point that technologies will become available to all, and ultimately it won't provide competitive advantage on its own just because you have deployed Oracle 12.x or the latest version of Oracle. Your business is going to be very tech savvy, right? It's not so. When you say digitization, when you say digital transformation, which means your end-to-end process needs to be automated. In a very plain, simple word, we can say end-to-end processes need to be automated. It could be like everyone saying a common saying that, boss, I want to have this very nice house kind of a thing. But then to come to that level, to have a nice house, you have to go through so many steps, right, to achieve that. While going through that steps, you have to have a smooth journey. You have to have everything in place, and you have to follow the step-by-step process. And the step-by-step process had to be in an order, and it had to achieve each and every milestones and targets and everything to achieve your final product or final service. At any point of a time, if it gets stuck, then you are not going to have your final product in place. No matter how much you struggle, how much of effort that you put in terms of finance, in terms of resources, other resources, you can do anything, but then your final product will not be there in place. So which means like your business process need to be equipped with the technology, and the business process need to be defined very well, and you need to have a design thinking approach. You need to have an agile way of responding to those requirements from the business side and as well as the customer side. And you will have to understand the customer journey, and you will have to understand complete business process to help the customer to travel through that transaction journey with the bank for the customer. As I said, technology is available to everyone, but the way you implement technology is what is going to make the difference, right? What we would suggest is, don't implement technology for the sake of technology. Implement technology to solve the problems, to enhance the customer experience, to smoothen the customer journey, because unless it helps to your business to solve some problems, helps your customer to have a smooth journey, that technology is not going to serve any purpose, right? So to do that, to enable the business processes or to help the customers to complete their journey, you need to capture the data in a way it needs to be captured. To put it in a very plain and simple way, capture the data in a way it needs to be captured. Don't capture the data for the sake of capturing the data. You have to capture the data right, which means in the right way. You have to capture for a number, for a character, which means a name for a name. You should build intelligence or a validation for clearing of the dummy data or clearing of the garbage that could be coming into the system automatically at that point of a time itself. You don't need to run a dedo process later. You can always build the validation at that point of time itself, so that the customer would be advised to give the right input. And when the customer gives the right input, you are getting the right data within the system, right? We are not going to talk about any analytics, what need to be built in. There are so many discussions, so many talks have happened on analytics, what needs to be done, how it needs to be done. But to go to that level, you need to have everything in right place, which means you need to have the right data. You need to have the right data in a right way. Only then you can go to analytics. So just because you are putting in some analytics piece within the system is not going to serve any purpose. It's as simple as that, which is garbage in, garbage out. If you capture information which is junk, you would be able to derive only junk output, which is not going to serve any purpose to anyone, which means you will be wasting your resources. So concentrate on capturing the data right and capturing the right data. So we have a question from one of the bankers. It says, how should the shortage of skills be built into the tech plan? Right? As I had explained earlier, right, when you try to define your technology strategy and technology architecture, right, you need to also invest time to ensure that your employees are able to work with the new technology, with the new digital technology, which means you are training them with the new skills that is required. That is, when you identify technology strategy, when you finalized your technology strategy and digital transformation, what is the objective, what is the vision, and the required components for that transformation journey, now you can identify what is the kind of skills that are required to complete the transformation journey or as part of the transformation journey. It could be new technology, it could be reskilling your own team, or you could bring in new team who have already got exposed to that new technology. You just identify what is the kind of the investment that you need to do in terms of time, effort and material for reskilling your people, right? So obviously there is going to be shortage of skills, not today, tomorrow, anytime, because the technology is one thing which evolves, keeps on evolving rapidly, and it evolves. There is no two ways about it. And the resources should be ready to reskill according to the new technologies. But when it comes to the technology plan of the bank, your reskilling or new skilling of your resources have to be in sync with the business requirements, because you cannot bring in the new technology or new skill set onto your team which is not going to be used at all on your business activities, on your business requirements at any point of a time. So it's waste of time, waste of resources, waste of effort, everything is waste. And ultimately what will happen is that particular resource will move away from entire the banking system or your business system. So you have to identify in such a way the skill sets required for implementing digital transformation for your businesses and equip the resources accordingly. That is very important. So which means like either you have to do reskilling or you have to do new skilling. When you are doing reskilling, your existing team would be trained onto new skill sets. You can do evaluation amongst your team who would be able to reskilled or who would be able to achieve that skills at the earliest, because they cannot take their own sweet time to complete that process. Or if the person is not, I would say, fast enough to pick up, identify those resources and deploy those resources in a repetitive technology requirements. Wherever the repetitive function is required, you may deploy them there. If that resource feels that they need to be put in a new technology projects or new transformation projects, better they get reskilled themselves. They have to be quick and faster to learn and come on track, because when the technology plan is going to embed agile ways of working, your skills, the resources also need to be skilled to meet your agile ways of thinking and working and to respond to the customers. Because everything is going to be in context, your resources need to be in context. It is just not that your technology, your resources which are equipped with the technical skills need to be in context with the business requirements. Right? So your tech plan is in context with the business requirements. Your resource skills are in context with your technology requirements, which is in contact with the business plan. So which means everything is in context. That entire ecosystem within the bank or the technology plan or technology strategy or technology requirements are in sync with each and every component. And then you would be able to deliver to the businesses as well as to the customers. That's number one. And number two is shortage of skills. In any case, it is there because the new generation keeps coming out with new technologies. You need to deploy those. When a skill becomes obsolete, you need to reskill it. When the resource becomes obsolete, you just get rid of the resource and bring in the new resource, because you have to balance it out, whether you need to meet the business objectives or you need to meet the people objectives. So it's a balancing act. If you want to meet the business objectives, people should be ready to come to that level to achieve the business objectives. Another question that we have from another banker is, what are the most favored technologies for quick ROI in digital transformation? This is again, as I was saying, technologies become available to all. It's the way how you deploy the technology is what is going to make the difference, is what is going to create a competitive advantage for every business. So there is nothing called most favored technology for your achieving great ROI or anything. I would put it in a different way for this. The way you implement technology is how you would get the ROI. It's not that which technology would be implemented to get a better ROI or for a quick ROI. It's the way you deploy the technology is what will give you quick ROI. It could be the same technology like everyone else. It could be a different technology like quite unique businesses that they do. You can use a common technology, but the way you use the technology or the way you deploy the technology for your business, that makes the difference, and that will help you to achieve the quick ROI onto your investments, right? So that is very, very important. Digital transformation is not a plug and play technology at all. You have to keep in mind, a plug and play technology can give a quick ROI in case of like giving a desktop application or a standard Microsoft products or standard Microsoft Office products, similar to same such products. But in digital transformation, to have a quick ROI, it is very, very important. The aspect what is very important is the way you deploy the technology. It is not the most favored technology. It is the most efficient deployment of the technology is what determines your ROI, right? And we have another question from another banker which says, who was, how do the new age solutions compare with the well-established solutions in terms of capex and opex, right? This is again a kind of very I would say the question itself, which says like arbitrary, I would say, to be very frank and honest on this. You cannot say the new age solution compare with the well-established solutions. Well-established solutions, in any case, it is helping you to run the business, right? So it is already proven for your capex and opex benefits. Wherever you have deployed, you would have achieved, unless you have your right solution in place, you would not have come to this level where you can talk about digital transformation from now onwards, from here onwards, right? So which means your well-established technology already has given you enough of opex and capex returns over there. You are going to exploit the benefits of those technologies using the new age technologies, or use the established technology for new age solutions, which means a solution, new age solution could be omni-channel approach, or it could be automated response to customers, or it could be automated notification for their transactions, or it could be automated launch of, not automated launch, it's an automated approach for potential customers, for a particular segment of customers. Those are all solutions which you can deploy on your established technology, because your established technology is providing the right amount of data to those solutions, so that you can go ahead and expand your businesses. So it's not that compare the new age solution with the established technology. It is how you exploit new age solution, exploit the established technology for new age solution. That's the way you should look at it. And accordingly, then you can talk about capex and opex over there, because you are to run your new age solution, you need certain amount of capex that need to go in and to bring in or to sit on top of the established technology. And to run that new age solution, you might be requiring a certain amount of opex over there. It could be again like depending on the way you have deployed the solution, your opex and capex will differ, will give you a differentiation, or will give you an edge on this, right? So these are the questions. Just to summarize, as I said, the digital disruption is the way of life now. It sweeps across the industries, and banking is it's in the forefront, and banking has got every bit of opportunity to use this digital transformation for their business benefits, right? And it is highly important, or it is imperative that the banks put a digital strategy in place quickly if they have not done so. And that digital strategy needs to be in sync with the business strategy. Keep in mind, because whatever that you do, it has to be in context of the business. Just keep that keyword in context for the business, in context for the customer. So your entire journey has to cover all three components: technology, business, and customer on your transformation, right? And you have to have KPIs defined to measure the metrics of your digital transformation, and the KPIs could be very, very ambitious, but make sure that it is not unrealistic. You cannot say you would require 100% achievement over a period of, as soon as you invest, because it requires efforts, it requires fine tuning, it requires a lot of steps to achieve that level. But you can have that ambition, but don't keep unrealistic definitions for your KPIs. Then it will demoralize the team to achieve. And as far as the technology goes, have your technology strategy reviewed very often, because it has to sync with the business, it has to sync with the technology, it has to sync with the customer expectations, it has to be like in sync with the latest technology developments. Capture right data, use the right technology, build right analytics to achieve your digital transformation journey. All the best. Thank you.
Global research says that every minute more than 1,000 people are hacked globally. What goes wrong? Where is the leakage, specifically with the financial institutions?
The challenges are today security is not depending on the best of tools or best of this thing. It's more depending on the strategies. So there are three classes of hackers. Some are strategic hackers. When I say strategic hackers, what I mean is they actually plan before doing an hack. So they probably study on what is the nature of the banking operations, what are the key areas, they study the patterns, they study the behavioral aspects of those things, and then plan their attack on that particular thing. Some of them are ATM related, where they breach the switch of the ATM. Some are related to the this one. Some are related to the net banking area, where they look at the applications, etc. So there are various areas which are vulnerable in a banking operations, banking application areas. The strategic hackers look at a high volume, high value, and single shot kind of a thing, where they actually involve themselves in international kind of fund collection, fund driving, which they can use it for themselves in a different way, where none of them could be made accountable.
How do you think they can strengthen their network or the system?
The primary focus for a banking institution would be to look at their data center, if it is in-house or outsourced, both. You need to look at it, and you need to look at whether where they are located. It's a question of your position of the place, where which city, which continent they are actually belonging to. Encryption is not a big thing, because you can always have a decryption mechanism, but because man in the middle attack you will prevent, but man at the destination will always get it decrypted and have that particular thing into place.
We have recently seen a big fraud in one of the largest cooperative bank in India. Could you please demystify how actually these frauds happen?
The primary thing that one does is they don't touch the bank per se. They don't touch this thing. They touch exchanges which are involved. For instance, you have RuPay, you have Visa, you have Master, you have all these kind of people who are actually involved with the financial institutions for exchange of money, domestic or international and all. So this kind of attacks are possible if somebody gathers. Today on the net you can pay money and get details of, say, for credit card information. So you pick up those things and then you filter a certain amount, because in the credit card information you get only numbers, you may not get the name, you may not get the location and other things. So you filter them, and roughly I look at the type of transactions that is there, because these are transaction data.
Right.
So if I have about say 100 to 500 kind of cards selected of one type with one type of dealings, then I use this card for specific purpose. Now once I've done this, the second practice that I do is there is a area where this exchanges takes place, which is a switch.
Right.
So I create a proxy switch. Proxy switch looks apparently the same way as the original switch is, and I use this switch for transacting. When the incoming data comes, transaction data comes, I filter only those transactions which I have identified into this proxy switch, and then once it is into this, I actually do a trading of commerce. For instance, I may use a country which is outside India, maybe Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Hong Kong, Macau, whatever it is, and pick up one of those countries, and then carry out a transaction there with some pseudo companies. So when I bill when money to be received from this, using this switch, using the known card, I debit that card and then transact the money to that particular area. So once I have done that, I have the debit card in another country, some other country, where I will withdraw that money using that card into this thing. So I get into some foreign currency and in other country. But there is a time window for exchanges. A debit card takes about 2 hours. A credit card takes about 20 to 24 hours for this kind of thing. So if I am operating, I am also being monitored, right? So when I am monitored by a NOC or a SOC, they would see the transactions of 10,000 are taking place. In a list of 10,000, a 400 transactions may be negligible. A 400 minus will be negligible because that has gone into the other proxy, right? By the time they they notice that, oh, this frequency has become, the graphical indicator will show that, okay, this particular bank has reduced, this bank has increased, this trend will send an alert.
Right.
So when they see an alert that this is there, so they will start acting on it. When they start acting on it, the trigger to the proxy guy also knows that yes, I am being monitored now. So if he closes at that time, he removes the proxy out and everything, then he is not detectable.
How long actually does this process take?
The planning part would take probably anywhere between 3 months to 6 months.
Okay.
But the activity is carried out in a time window as short as possible.